Welcome to Empowered Heart to Heart, where you'll hear messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. Well, hey, this is Dr. Rhonda Simmons, and I am the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation, as well as Rhonda L. Simmons, LLC. And I am so excited to have you on another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. This is where we have fireside chats with guests, or I do some solo episodes. We just talk heart to heart about the issues that matter to us the most in life. And today, of course, I have a wonderful guest. I keep saying this every episode that applies, and not one person has failed me. And that is that I have met some of the best people this side of heaven, and today is no exception. I am super duper excited because our guest today just absolutely directly aligns with the mission and vision of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation. You know, our vision is to have a home for unwed teen moms and to empower them through pre- and postnatal health education, job skills training, and coaching. By the way, if you have questions and you want to reach out to us, feel free to do so. At our website, www.tseffiorg. Our office number, our email address are on the screen as well. Or if you're on social media like the rest of the world is, so are we. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter at TSEFIORG, no spaces. And that's just the acronym for the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated. And so you can always reach out to us, or even if you're interested in being on our show, reach out to us and let us know. And there's a pre-qualification application that, you know, is just how we do things. And if you qualify, then we'll definitely set aside some time for you to be on the show. In the meantime, for our episode today, you want to make sure you like, comment, and share this video. If you're watching our YouTube channel, also make sure you subscribe to it and hit the notification button so that you'll be notified every single time I post a new video, because I'm telling you, you don't want to miss a single episode. If you're listening to our podcast, make sure you share this episode with a friend, because I'm telling you, it will resonate with you and you don't want to miss it, and you want your friends to be a part of something great. And so on our show today, I'm super excited because I have our guest, Mrs. Tiesha Bryant. She is the parent healer. Yes, you heard me correctly, the parent healer. And we're going to find out more about that in just a moment. But Tiesha is an author, she's a speaker, and she's a licensed master social worker. That is so cool. And as the CEO of We Have a Purpose Incorporated, she provides essential prevention and intervention services to at-risk families. I'm looking forward to talking to her. You see why I'm excited about this particular episode? Through Resilient Family Wellness LLC, she offers expert coaching in parenting and emotional distress. Here's what I know. I don't think, and I don't recall hearing that when mothers give birth to their babies, out comes the baby, immediately followed by a handbook on how to raise your child. Haven't heard that one yet. And so as a new parent, even if you're a repeat parent, you need some help. Well, it sounds like Tiesha Bryant is the person you need to talk to. She is a graduate of Florida A&M and Troy University. And she is from Pittsview, Alabama, and she balances her roles as a wife, mother, and leader, all while empowering families to overcome adversity and thrive. And so I am so excited to meet this great woman. Hello, Tiesha. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How you doing?
I am excellent. I am so glad to have you on the show today. Man, your background is fire. This is exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. I am definitely excited to be a part.
Yes. So please, please, please tell us, what do you mean by you are the parent healer? This we have to hear. What is that?
So, as the parent healer, I specifically focus on the parent in parenting. And as I say often, as parents, we have to heal so our kids can live. So, I assist them with that process of healing from those very, very things that they've suppressed for so long. They unknowingly spill over into their relationship with their kids. So, that's why I am the parent healer. We're going to learn how to forgive. We're going to become free of all of our past baggage. We're going to make sure our foundation is solid so we can actually focus and show up as the imperfectly perfect parents that we are.
Oh my goodness, that's so powerful. That is so powerful. And what I love about your story is that you're not doing this just because it sounds good. It sounds like you've walked this path of healing yourself.
Yes,
Wow.
definitely.
You shared with me that you were a teen mom at the age of 13. And for anyone just tuning in, let me just be absolutely clear that I am not throwing shade or judgment, but Tiesha's story directly aligns with my nonprofit that supports unwed teen moms. And so that's why I'm excited. That's why we're going here, because you said you were a teen mom at 13. So tell us about some of the challenges that you face as a teen mom.
Right. So, absolutely. I was pregnant at 13. I actually gave birth at 14. The biggest challenge for me was to tell my parents. How am I going to let my parents know their baby girl, the one who's straight A student, been in church since I was like 8, got baptized when I was 9, the nerd of the family, the one that stays to herself, is pregnant at 13. So that was like one of the biggest challenges that I had. Um, Once I told my mom, and she looked at me, tears in her eyes, and she said, "You're not the first one, you won't be the last. Mama got your back. You're going to go to school and you're going to do whatever you set your mind to." That point, nothing or nobody else mattered. What they say did not matter. All my aunts on my mom's side, they showed up. Eventually, my dad, he came around, with the whole situation. So actually going back into school, because my mama didn't keep me out of school. I was in regular general population school. So having to go to my 8th grade graduation pregnant, and you hear the snickers and the finger pointing and the side conversations, and in the back of my head I just kept replaying the things that my mom and my aunts said to me. And I went on to high school, graduated top 10% of my class. I was still able, thank you, I was still able to participate in extracurricular activities because my child was in childcare. It got out at 6. So my mom would go pick my daughter up, come get me. And, by the grace of God, we were able to, have a smooth transition. But what I will say is it was challenging doing homework and being mama and still being a kid, because my mom did not hold back. This is your child. You're going to take care of her, but you're still going to get that work. And you're also still going to do your chores that you would have normally done. So, that was like something I had to, get in the routine of. And I stayed home for college because I didn't want to leave my baby. I was like, I don't want nobody to feel like they have to raise my child because she's mine. But it was when I was in Troy getting my bachelor's, I was suspended, and I was like, I cannot not finish my degree. It was based off false information. I don't want to go into too many details as far as what happened within the school. It's actually in my book, Resilience Over Regret. So I end up going to the number one HBCU in the nation, Florida A&M University, and I had to leave my baby. So that was very, very hard. Those was the longest 9 months of my life, but also the best 9 months of my life, because I began to discover who I was as an individual. And coming back home, that's literally 2014 is when I started my nonprofit, and it was right after undergrad. So those were two of my challenges, and the last one was actually dating. Um, Being a teenager with a kid, like, don't no teenage boy want to be a stepdaddy. That was like, no. And their mom was looking at you like, she fast, she ain't gonna be with my. So I went through that whole phase, feeling like nobody wanted me. God, like, am I not good enough? I make good grades. I'm not into drama. Like, what is it? I love you, God. And like, nobody want me. So I had pretty much like given up on like love, but I was still in like little different situationships where you would hear all the promises of y'all being together and you falling for it, and it never really comes to fruition. And it was October 2015 I met my now current husband, and it was literally God sent. So those were the biggest challenges that I faced as a teen mom.
Wow. That was a whole sermon.
Listen,
That was,
what they say, that'll preach.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. On so many levels.
Oh yeah.
First, hats off to your mama. Hats off to her, because she loved you
Oh yeah.
and still loves you through the tough times. She loved you because, as a parent, I can't imagine how she felt right in that moment. And since I don't know her, that's all I can do is imagine. I can imagine maybe she's feeling some kind of way, like, where did I go wrong in my parenting? Where did I fail her? Where did I let her down? But despite how she was feeling, I don't know if in that moment she realized the power of her words. What she said in that moment could have changed your entire life, one way or the other, And so she obviously said the right things. And it just, like you said, it didn't matter what anybody else said. You knew you were going to make it.
Oh
What
yeah.
an amazing support system you had, with your mom and your aunts and your dad even coming around, because I was a daddy's girl. And so I do understand, you know, my baby,
Yeah.
I can only imagine how he would have responded if your daughter's father had walked up right at that moment.
Listen, daddy was like, I'm not having it. Like, this is not gonna happen. And he was in denial because I didn't tell him personally. My mom told him. And it's so crazy. The day I told my mom I was pregnant is the day my grandmother passed. So it was a lot going on that day. So when my mom did tell my dad, it was the funeral. Like, I guess, like after you tell somebody you're pregnant, you begin to show, because I can promise you for 4 months, nobody knew I was pregnant. So it was like people at the funeral asking my dad, is Nick, so my nickname is Nikki. So there's like, is Nikki pregnant? Is Nikki? And my dad was like, I don't know. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. And I just kept hearing him say that. So one night I went in the room and I said, hey, Dad, I was like, I'm pregnant. I am so sorry. God has forgiven me, and I hope you can too. I cried and I walked out of the room because there was nothing else at that point I could have done or said. And it was like from that moment going forward, he would drown a fish about me. So it all kind of just, worked out the way God saw fit. Prayer is definitely powerful, like the power of prayer. And I know there were many nights my parents may have cried or, fussed at each other. And of course, it's not my story to tell, but I already told my mom, I said a lot. She turned to Crown. Like, my mama would drink a fifth of Crown on the regular to try and, handle the pain that she was enduring. And it was one day I stopped seeing the Crown bottles come, and we were back in church like we never left. And her support just continued to increase.
Thank you.
And it was literally God's grace.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And two things. I heard you mention that you wrote a book.
Yes.
And what's the name of the book?
So the second book, where I actually have like my tell-all, is Resilience Over Regret. And that's basically my journey as a teen mom, my faith, love, and family. So in that book, I talk about the homelessness we experienced. I talk about my parents divorcing, the molestation, and how, God actually sent me my husband and trying to blend families. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow, this story is even bigger than I thought. This wow. I heard that word regret because um that is the foundation of why well, I should say it's the connection,
Right.
and my why for doing my foundation is the regret piece. And I'm not going to go into it here because this is all about you, but that pain of regret, people don't realize how crippling regret can
Oh,
be.
yeah.
I mean, it'll stop you dead in your tracks. It's like imposter syndrome on crack, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
it, it is a horrible thing, especially when you come to that place of, oh my God, what have I done?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes people today don't realize, especially young people, mm, they don't always realize the fact that there are some things in life that cannot be undone. it,
Nope.
it just once it's done, it's done. It's kind of like trying to get toothpaste back into the tube. Once it's out, it's out.
It's out. Absolutely. So that's why that's in that moment, when I came up with the title, it was like I had reached a point where even though the deed had been done, I do not regret anything when it came to, me actually getting pregnant. Because in all honesty, I thought I was a virgin when I conceived my child. In my mind, it didn't register that when I was molested, I was no longer a virgin. So in my mind, I thought, I was a virgin until I got ready to write my book. And my book coach, Apostle Shalonda Williams Lennard, she said, Tiesha, if you are going to write this book, you're gonna have to be free, and you're gonna have to tell it all. So I actually had to go through coaching to actually write the book. And the coaching was more so for me to heal and to actually be like, yes, I don't regret, because I take responsibility for whatever role I played. I take responsibility for drinking the beer that night. I take responsibility for actually going with the guy. So those are, different things that I actually had to take responsibility for and forgive myself. And once I forgave myself, then I no longer had that regret that I was still holding on to, that I actually thought I was over. But it wasn't until I got ready to write that book, she coached me through it. And today, and she was like, Tiesha, when you release this book, you get ready for the hard questions. You get ready for, questions that you may never want to answer. But if you put it in this book, just know the questions are coming. And the questions came, and I was prepared to, to have those uncomfortable conversations, even with my husband, because he was like, wait, you didn't tell me this. Or I was like, yes, I did. I did tell you, but it's more detailed because I had suppressed it for so long. I didn't even remember a lot of the stuff until I went through that coaching in that healing process. So yeah.
Wow. Well, this puts a spin on things because so your daughter was the result of being molested.
No, she wasn't.
Oh, I'm
I,
sorry. I thought that's
right.
what you were saying. I'm
I was molested when I was younger, and I didn't know. So I began to learn different terms as I started teaching. So I worked at this program called Tears, where I was a prevention specialist, and I was 18, and we would talk about abstinence and, life choices and STDs and different things. And one day I was leading a class, and it had the word statutory rape, it had date rape, and molestation was one of the words. And when I read the definitions, it was like well, dang, this is what I went through. This is what it was called. Because I'm a country girl. I'm from down the road. Alabama, 334, Pittsview, all the way. I ain't know about it. Was like, what? So, actually learning those words and what they meant, I began to feel some type of way. the regret began to set back in. So it was literally once I began to write that book, I was able to fully heal and accept everything that happened in my life up until that point. Whether I played no role in it, a very small role, or a big role, having to accept it, forgive myself, and forgive those who, as God say, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to forgive them. So yeah, I'm kind of
Wow.
free now.
Wow. 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 What a life story.
Oh
What a
yeah.
life story. But you have a recent celebration with your daughter. You want to share?
Absolutely. So, my baby, my one and only, that was my first and only baby that I birthed. Dr. Thomas Malone. He had me raise my right hand, and he was like, "All right, so promise that you will never have another baby until you're good, grown, and married." This was the doctor that delivered my baby, and I did it. And when I got married, I went to his office. I was like, "Hey, I don't have any more kids. I did it. I did it." So this past May, she graduated from Chattahoochee Valley Community College with her associate's degree. Yay, I know. And that was actually right before she graduated high school with her high school diploma. So she graduated both with honors. She's a phlebotomist, all while in high school. And on my mom's birthday, August the 16th, I dropped her off for college. And I
Oh,
know. And at 33, I am an empty nester in the phase of my life calling rediscovering me.
oh my goodness, fantastic. I tell you, only God knows how to turn things around in your life and,
Yes,
dry your tears and forgive and restore and just abundantly bless. How exciting!
yes,
That is
yes,
so exciting. Taisha, you have such a powerful story. No wonder you're a master social worker. And
yes.
wow, that is amazing. And so was it your life story that led you to choose that particular career path?
Yes, to a certain degree. So my mom's been in the medical field all my life. She's always helped people. I've always seen her help people. I've always helped people. And I knew I didn't want to be a nurse because I didn't do blood, throw up, and all of the gross stuff. So I was trying to find something aligned in the medical field. So I initially was going to be, I wanted to be a pharmacist until I saw a lot of things that my cousins were going through. They were in foster care. Well, they were involved in Department of Human Resources, DHR, with DFACs and all of that. So they would come to us, and we would try to help them out, put them in better situations. And I knew, like, okay, I like this part right here. And working at Tears at 18 as a prevention specialist, I had a lot of kids who were basically the same age as my little sister. We're like, I was teaching her classes about abstinence and, making good decisions. And some of them will pull me to the side and we having counseling sessions. And I was like, I need the paper to go with what I'm doing so I can get paid a little bit more than what I'm getting paid. So I was like, social work is the field. And I'm able to do any and everything. I've worked in medical. I've worked at a hospital as a social worker. I even with my nonprofit, where I actually partner with the Department of Juvenile Justice, working within the schools to provide counseling and prevention specialists for different kids who go through bullying and truancy. Um, and every child I get, guess what I do? I have to work with the parents because there's no way I'm going to just work with your child and put them back in the same environment, because at the end of the day, it's the person in the environment. So I have to treat the whole environment. So while my interns are working with the kids, I am healing the parents, hence the name, the parent healer. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so that's how I'm able to continue that whole social work thing. But I absolutely enjoy the coaching aspect of parenting, because a lot of times when people hear social work, they think, oh, she just come to take my kids, and the stigma behind social work. But we are so much more. I've never had to take anyone's child. I never worked at DHR. I've always been about bringing families together, making sure the parents healing so the babies can live and not have to live through their parents' trauma as secondary trauma. So that's like one of the main things I do with my nonprofit. And I knew I couldn't have my nonprofit in my coaching, so I had to do them separately. And anytime my nonprofit needs someone to show up for parenting, then Resilient Family Wellness, Tiesha, the parent coach, shows up. So I'm in both entities, and it's just like, hey, okay, and we have a purpose. I'm the social worker, because with ethics, there's a fine line with so much you can do if you're not clinical. So as a master's level social worker, I can do parenting, I can do all of that, I can do everything but diagnose, prescribe meds, but I can also still do therapy. However, as a life coach, I can pretty much do what I want to do to a certain degree, as long as it's not harmful to the client, or myself. And I just kind of, do my coaching on one hand, and I do my social work on the other hand. But all in all, I show up as me. I show up as whoever God need me to show up at that moment with that client is who they get.
Tiesha, we have so much in common because I have a nonprofit just like you. I have an LLC for my coaching, just like you, to separate the two. And so I get it. Wow, this is exciting. Just super exciting to talk with you today. And so, like you said, you're an empty nester now at 33. Oh my goodness, you look like a teenager yourself. Um, and
You.
so, what's the plan now that you have all of this freedom?
Ah, right. So no more Friday Night Lights. My baby, she danced and cheered her entire high school career. So I'm at every game, traveling. Now I am focusing more so on my husband, on our relationship, because blending families has not been easy. Even as the parent healer, I was still trying to heal pieces that I didn't know need healing. And with my husband, I coming from two different backgrounds, it was a lot of differences. So now that she's out of the house, now it's like we're going into our 7th year anniversary. And just, thank you. November 11th will be 7 years. So just keeping, our relationship fresh, keeping each other first, and just getting back to our why. So while still doing that, working on me, rediscovering who I am outside of, being that teen mom, having to make sure this appointment is set, going to this game, doing this. And a lot of things that I've done in life has always been because I got to make sure baby girl is straight. I got to make sure, she has a real model and not a role model. So though that would never change, now it's time for me to just step back for a minute and see, Tiesha, what do you like? Like, what do you want to do? And I have these 2 babies. We have a purpose in Resilient Family Wellness. And it's like, so what's next? And I found a love for speaking. Like, I absolutely love speaking. I love coaching. I love sharing my story. I love sharing, love the gospel of Christ. Like, I actually love hosting. I actually hosted my I call her my tea mommy, but my spiritual mom, Apostle Shalonda. I hosted her book release, What If God Is All of Us? And I had a ball. It was like I had my own TV show. Like, it was so fun. I was like, I can see myself doing this. So, just getting into those different things, just what I like.
Well, that's exciting. I don't believe that God makes mistakes and He doesn't do coincidences. And so I know that God ordered our meeting, and this time of sharing. And I am so thankful to you for the time that you have shared and all that you have shared and sharing your heart with us. And if anyone wants to reach out to Tiesha, her website is on the screen, www.tieshanbryant.com. And for those that are listening, I'll put it in the description of the podcast rather than going through the whole spelling of everything now, but I'll put it in the description of the podcast. You want to reach out to her, whether it's for a speaking engagement or you want to find out how you can heal as a parent so you can bring your best parenting self to your children and to your family. It's so important. I am convinced, Tiesha, that the enemy is and has always been uh, trying to destroy the
Oh,
family unit.
oh yeah.
Um, all the way back from the Garden of Eden. He's just been trying to destroy the family unit because that will spill over into every aspect of society.
Absolutely.
And that's how we end up with so many dysfunctional families, dysfunctional people, dysfunctional relationships because the healing has never taken place. And in our culture, people are just now kind of, sort of, maybe accepting the
That
fact
mental
that.
health is a real thing and we need therapy.
Thank you. You knew exactly where I was going. That is exactly what I was going to say. Because back in the day, you're not going to put my business out in the street.
Because what happened in our house stays in our house.
Yes, yes. And we have got to get away from that because that kind of antiquated thinking causes dysfunctional children to become dysfunctional adults. And it
Yes.
spills over into their relationships. And it's just a generational curse that not only began, but we perpetuate it when we don't take time to address those needs. And so I appreciate you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I pray that God not only blesses your work, but he causes it to expand beyond what you are thinking, beyond what you may have even dreamed. I pray that God will cause it to expand and to grow and to prosper where he sends it. Because it is so needed. When, I've been in ministry for over 30 years. I've been in education for 15 years. And that's why I have, two different sides like you, with the coaching and the nonprofit and all of that. And I've drawn this conclusion that there is so much involved in the word ministry. People have this misconception that it's all about preaching behind the pulpit and receiving tithes and offerings and all of that. But in my opinion, the hardest part is actually living the ministry that you preach. And because the
Listen.
preaching, people go to school for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking Bible colleges in any way. Education is important, and having the right skill and knowing how to lay out a sermon and all of that is important and everything. I get it. But when the sermon is over, how are you living? You
What that
know,
heart look like?
yes,
What
yes. What
that
is going?
heart look like? Are y'all really loving people? Are y'all only loving people when y'all in the pulpit? Are y'all loving people when y'all just, sitting on that first row, with y'all white suits on? Like, are y'all really loving people? And a lot of times we don't. Because a lot of time in the pulpit is a whole bunch of judgment. We don't preach
Absolutely.
love. We don't teach love. We preach sin and we preach us to be fearful of God. But why? God he's a gentleman. He's not going to force himself on us. He's not man and he shall not lie. So if we did everything in love, because that's the one true commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, then why did we get away from the truth? I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Amen.
I'm just saying, like,
Amen. I'm right there with you. And people are coming through our doors in the church with issues,
oh
with
yes.
real serious issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that if God sends them to us, then he will equip us with how to pastor them, how to disciple them, and above all, how to love them. you
Yes.
know, and God will use us if we allow him
Mm-hmm.
to be that healer that they need and to find that healing that they need, so that they can be whatever God has called them to be. And so it's so important to me, um, how we disciple people, because ministry is people.
Oh yes.
And
Absolutely.
if preachers don't have that understanding, then they need to turn in that certificate that they got and go back and start over.
Try again.
You know, they missed that lesson.
Yes, the most
Ministry
important
is
one.
people. Yes,
Most
yes.
important.
And so, Tiesha, it has been an absolute joy to spend this
Yes,
time with you. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
thank you.
And if you will just hang out just for a moment while I wrap up the show,
Mhm.
then I'll get right back to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much for having me on. It has been my pleasure to speak to your audience. I pray something I said today resonated with you in some form or fashion. And parents, please, please, let's heal so our kids can live. And know that I love all y'all because I can, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much, Tiesha, and
Thank
I'll be
you.
with you in just a moment. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Yes, I did. Oh my goodness. What an impactful, empowering time in this episode today. I'm telling you, it's just, Tiesha spoke things near and dear to my heart. It's so wonderful to talk with someone who is just in alignment. And what is really interesting, this is my first time meeting Tiesha ever, and so she had no idea that in my prayer and devotional time this morning, the word alignment came to just popped in my mind. It came to my mind, and that everything that we do must be aligned with God's purpose for our lives. Just everything, not just the big picture stuff, but the day to day activities that we engage in have to align with God's will for us. And so, this interview with Tiesha Bryant today was in direct alignment with the Simmons Empowerment Foundation, with our vision, our mission, with my heart and passion, and even talking about overcoming regret. Wow. I tell you, this has been a tremendous time. I hope that you have been encouraged. I hope that you have learned something today. And most of all, I pray that you have been empowered to become all that God has destined for you to become, and that you will realize that you do not have to live in a state of regret, in a state of complacency because of your regret, because you feel like you've done too much, seen too much, experienced too much to be anything of usefulness to God. That is just a lie. Because if Jesus forgives you, then that's all that matters. And so you've got to make sure that you are somehow, in some way, moving past the regret. God will help you to move past the regret so that you can walk in his purpose for your life. Make sure that you reach out to us. I'd be so glad to hear from you, to hear your reaction to this specific episode. I believe that it was God ordained. Reach out to me at our website, our email address, or even call our office to let us know what your impression was about this particular episode. I'm super excited. Tiesha Bryant, remember that name because I believe you're going to hear it again. She is a great young lady, doing a great work, and she's not going to come down or stop doing it for anything. And so I appreciate her. And until the next time, be blessed, be encouraged, but most of all, be empowered. And I'll see you again on Empowered Heart to Heart.